So here I am, all the way in Mexico, which is apparently a third world country. And yet, from what I'm seeing happening in New Zealand, I kind of think, well, I would almost say that actually, from what I'm seeing here in Mexico, is that they're going that way and we're going that way. Um, I still need to kind of do a bit of a breakdown on population per homicides, but it just one of the things you look at New Zealand is our in the last decade, we now per population actually outdo India for homeless people. We outdo Australia for homicides in the last 3 years alone. I don't care what the statistics are, but the reality is everywhere I drive in the South Island, the roads have just gone to crap in 10 years, and the road tenders don't make any sense. I mean, our roads are just quite, we live on a shaky mountain. They're never going to be perfect, but in the last 10 years, they've just slid sideways. The money that's available for highways, and so that's going sideways, and again, the accident rates are going up. And then we look at things, of course, like, we have in the last 3 months, multiple boats breaking down, running aground. Then our navy. I mean, look, I don't know if you guys ever know anything about that, but our military is actually pretty well trained, and I think that one just beggars belief. And I mean, obviously we don't know the circumstances. I'm not going to speculate, but it's just again like, well, I'm sorry, we send out a plane to rescue, and that breaks down too. Which don't need to forget, remember, Chris Chipkin's plane broke down as well. I have been on 3 planes in the last month that have all had to be delayed flights because they're broken down as well. Um, this is living proof. This is my point. Okay, to all of those freedom people out there, to all of those people out there, they go, oh, but it's bloody socialist, bloody communism. Well, hey, let's get something straight. Number one, we actually had a perfectly functioning government that was top of the OECD. All those social figures I talked about, homicides, suicides, they weren't a problem. We were in the top 10. And that was under Norman Kirk, who was a socialist-leaning government. So maybe it's time we start to considering that the capitalist model ain't doing too good. As far as pointing to Jacinda Ardern again, she's a dirty communist. Well, that's because that's for people who are redneck morons. Okay? Do you want to go and read something about Jacinda Ardern, the Worldwide Socialist website, see what they have to say about her, and you're pretty much convinced, find out, guess what? They didn't deem her a socialist. And anybody who knows anything about Rogernomics or has seen the movie or the documentary Someone Else's Country, maybe they should read that. And then you might have an actually informed idea as all supposed this redneck crap. Now, likewise, it's interesting to note that the farmers, Pew, for example, in Tasman, haven't said anything about the Sam's Creek. Guys, you do get that gold uses water, don't you? Right? So what's going to happen is that your Waimea Dam, which is put up for privatisation or half model, half government gain, they're not a socialist model, but the corporate model, which is giving us all of this crap, this absolutely, you pay for everything and you get nothing kind of model. Well, what's happening there is that because they've actually run into trouble, which was always forecast long by the critics again, what's happening now is that the council are now talking about selling off the shares. So what's going to happen very, very quickly is that the council won't maintain dominant shares of Waimea Dam, and that'll be the case, the model that will happen all around the country. So farmers, you are going to be paying more for water and then competing against the gold mining industry. Now, redneck Shane Jones, who is a living example of ignorance and action, again, guy doesn't read, bloody socialist, go read a book, Shane. Stop wanking off in hotel rooms. I do it, but I'm actually not doing it on a taxpayer's basis. Point is, he's talking about all this, we're going to make gold, we're going to, you're not going to get the jobs because that's going to go to specialist people. Number two, who do you think getting over the road into Takaka right now? That road's a piece of, who's going to pay for that, to bring all the big trucking companies? Oh no, actually, the wharf is being developed, but it's not being developed for the public. Suddenly all that money's been available for the mining companies, and then they will be bringing along the roads, wearing them up and down. We'll pay for that, all that infrastructure. We'll get a minimal amount of returns on it. And this is, again, we're just continuing down the same sucker's road. And this is the thing that annoys me, why I'm so angry about it, is that if you go and read my book, State Secrets, which I wrote in 1999, and I said, this is what's going to happen in the country. Bang, 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 bang. Gangs, drugs, the economy. I have never been wrong about this. Okay, my track record speaks for itself. Now, factors during the TPPA, I got machine gunned terribly by both the left wing and the right wing corporate media. And none of them actually interviewed me. None of them actually quoted material properly. But I went from 135,000 people trafficking a week to now about 400 a month because my online I being absolutely culled off. And these are all the signs that I was actually attracting attention because they were so that we've got to shut that down. We've got to go and put the boot in there. The old saying of you over the flax zone, you're probably on the right place. This is a strategic model designed by NGOs. It has been calculated by mining corporate lobbying groups like the Atlas Network. Again, wrote about these guys for decades nearly. Okay, even Labour got blabbers. Oh no, we won't say anything about that. Yeah, and we once said, like, you said you wouldn't sign the TPA, which I said, dear one, yep, they're going to go and sign it because they're not socialist leaning. They're neoliberal. So they went ahead and did it, and then of course they got kicked out of government, and Chris Shipkins, former Shell Oil executive, Cindy's minder, again another example of how she's not corporate, not socialist. So they're going to go ahead and sign this document, and soon as they got booted out of the government, they start talking about the Atlas Network. But no one's still talking about the fact that the Atlas Network also had links via the New Zealand initiative to both particular groups. And this is the issue that we've really actually basically got to draw attention to. And we've got to start getting more informed. Okay? And this is what frustrates me the most, this double-pronged situations, left-wing, right-wing situations, that you've got people running around saying that they are, we represent resistance or freedom, but we won't actually talk to you about any of the 25, 30 years of what's been going on in government, because that's going to blow the whistle about how we're actually part of the same fucking bullshit. Okay? Go and learn about Allende, go and learn about Norman Kirk, go and learn about Whitlam government. You read about those three guys. You actually learn about basically what their joint policies were against the mining corporations, specifically the mining corporations, because they knew they had the intel in the late 1960s about the mineral resources. Okay, and you look at what happened to those guys, and this is what I'm saying. This has been very well thought out, and it's literally, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's called the Chicago School of Economics. Again, go and look at someone else's country, because it points out there is literally a blueprint which this was worked upon, and they've been working away upon it. And if you just go and you look at all these things that are happening in New Zealand with our planes and our roads and stuff breaking down, the same thing's actually happening in Australia. And it's quite really funny. It's actually quite ironic, because here in Mexico, you can clearly see things. Like there's a lot of cops out there, and the more you get in the city, there's a real attempt to basically stem the corruption, and there are parts of the city just absolutely reek. But you can also see this huge army of guys in green going out there, and they're all brand new polished trucks. There's a real effort being made to get the city clean it up with corruption, put in infrastructure for the people. And again, it's really interesting when you look at Mexico, and you look at the history of Mexico, because I'm not saying this is going to stay, because Mexico is unfortunately it's a buffer state, and it's purposely always been kept down by the United States of America, and a lot of that has been things like the drug trade, and have been very much tied up with the oil and the sugarcane industries, who also during the 1970s, that globalist model which poured massive amounts of money into Australia, which was also criminally, a lot of it was corruption money, which basically bought politics. And you saw everything that's happening in New Zealand was, now was happening in Australia. In fact, it's still the same situation. You go to Australia, it's harder and harder to find good local businesses, and the more you get towards the sort of industrial or the corporate centre, everything's controlled by franchise. But again, you're getting paying more for less. So anyway, my forecast is that basically I'll end with these two things. Again, I've written about this for Sanders Creeks. While everyone was going on about New Zealand, just into the communists and the three waters thing, we'll get rid of it, we'll replace it. Yeah, replace it with what? Same thing, co-governance. Labour, National played this around, but they never turned around and said, wait a minute, what about co-governance? Not necessarily a good or bad thing, but where are the checks and balances? How is the system going to run? Oh no, just like the New Zealand Constitutional Act, we'll just push it through, and then we'll worry about the details later on, which is what they want you to just not pay attention. So anyway, while everyone was going on about this stuff, I was saying, well, guys, the mining companies are coming in, and and Game Labour didn't want to talk about that. They pretty much, in my opinion, threw the election, and we're at the situation now where it's like, guys, Sam Creek, I said, this is what's going to happen. And I talked about, before fast tracking, in fact, what's going to happen next is the special economic zones. So people now introduce fast tracking and they go, oh, wow, these things are going to occur. What they don't know is there's another thing out there called special economic zones, which is part of this pre-orchestrated blueprint, which again, you look at operations, military exercises, operations Katabo and operations Koru, which talk about the state of Bakara, and they talk about how a country that was once really thriving is on its bad bones, so they decide to get mining to get it back up, get it going again, and right at the top of the food chain, and this causes disruption. At the same time that we've got 3,000 501s flooded into the country, at the same time a really dumb gun law has basically put those guns in the 501's hands, just like I said would happen in state secrets. And I said, guess what? This exercise that they used for Bakari and Koru, what I said in State Secrets, it was previously called, operation was called Rogue, Racially Orientated Groups Unemployed, and we used an Operation Golden Fleece. And this is what my whole book is all about. Okay? Go read my book for frickin' sake. Because that's what I wrote about 20 years ago. And everything I'm saying is coming to fruition. And the idea is that, in this Bakara situation, they talk about, the solution to times going down is that they're going to introduce a special economic zones. You guys do the math. And at the end of the day, I'll finally finish with saying that the solution, the answers are very, very clear cut. If we can focus on things that actually matter, i.e. our politics, not this freaking identity politics or things that are overseas about Donald Trump or whatever, like what's happening in our country. And the answer solution to it is threefold. It is a Treaty of Waitangi, which is a partnership between Indigenous New Zealanders and native New Zealanders. That is New Zealanders, people born in New Zealand that are of English descent and that are protections of the English Westminster law system, which is granted to the Indigenous races, who in return give us the protection of Te and customary rights, which could be put to very great use, especially in taking back control of local government under the co-governance system. Secondly, the 1835, the English statutes, the Bill of Rights 1688. Learn the Bill of Rights 1688. The answer is right there. That system is ancient law. It has been endorsed and supported by Warren Pike, who is literally the president of the Auckland Barrister Society, and he says a robust citizenry petitioning the courts on the Bill of 1688 can ensure that the government basically gets back and stops actually making laws and then giving itself power it doesn't actually have, and it's right there in black and white. Okay. Thirdly, is the Bill of Rights 1835. Now, the Bill of Rights 1835 is very, very important for one simple reason, is that it is a document which, by the exclusion of the Rangatira, when it was signed initially, and it was only acknowledging the Hapu, which is not to dismiss the Rangatira, that's not my point. The point is, it was demonstrating by acknowledging that the power in New Zealand at the time when the colonial forces formed a partnership with Indigenous people, that the power was based within the Maori people at the Hapu level. Now, what that means in its really simple, basic sense is that it was saying Maoris are not like Europe or France or England or Germany, where there's a king and one seat and the power is all in one person. No, I was saying actually, the Maoris were more like the American Indians, a confederacy. So the terminal nation meant that the power was shared across. That was the significance of it. And so those three things together, 1835, Bill of Rights 66, Treaty of Waitangi, triangle, lockstep. Those things give us all the protections that we need so that these corporate guys can do all the things that they want, but at the end of the day, what they are doing is quite freaking illegal. I mean, literally, it is absolutely, these guys should be going to jail. Governments do not have the right to sign the treaty, to sign the TPPA. Reason why, Bill of Rights 1688 says you do not have the power to put any power that gives it to in a body that is outside of the courts of law. In this context, they use the classic, but the actual legal definition of it is that anything outside of New Zealand that tries to put authority over it, that. very black. But the Bill of Rights 1688 is an extremely basic set of laws. And once you actually bend your head around them and stop thinking about them in terms of old colonial times or what the language was used, but what they were saying in black and white, they are the best protection we have. And all these corporate systems, these special economic zones, these TPPAs, what they are trying to do is they are trying to suggest that we are actually part of this corporate globalized world where the power or the definition of human rights is defined by the United Nations and by the TPPA under New York state law, which re-changes the definition of human rights. Westminster Law, Bill of Rights 1688, is crystal clear. Your rights, the rights that we have protected under these constitutional mechanics, cannot be taken away. Now, here's the thing, okay? I can't fix your toaster. I'm crap at this stuff. I'm actually a pretty crap driver too. But I actually do know my constitutional law because I've got a fucking degree in it. Okay? I've written about this stuff for 30 years and nothing that is ever... The reason why they don't come and interview me is because the fact of the matter is that if they turn around, when they do, I just turn around and demonstrate and say, well, no, I demonstrate I back up what I'm saying with my facts and my sources. So... if we want to stop what's going on in this country, because it is a coup d'etat, it is a corporate coup d'etat, and it is deliberately going on, learn those three things. 1835, 1688, Treaty of Waitangi. These are your friends.